The siege of Earth had lasted 3 cycles, and Commander Thera of the Nexian Empire was growing impatient. Her crystalline battleship hung in low orbit above what the humans called North America, its shadow casting darkness over the scattered resistance strongholds below. She stood at the command deck, her iridescent scales reflecting the pale blue glow of Earth's atmosphere. "Status report," she commanded, her secondary eyes scanning multiple tactical displays, while her primary set remained fixed on the planet below. "The human fortress in Sector 7 remains operational, Commander," her second-in-command, Crix, reported. "Their shield technology continues to resist our standard penetration protocols." Thera's jaw tightened, the bioluminescent markings along her neck pulsing with irritation. The humans had proven far more resilient than initial reports suggested. Their primitive appearance belied an ingenuity that had cost the Empire dearly in resources and soldiers. "Prepare my personal transport," she ordered. "I will lead the ground assault myself." Her officers exchanged concerned glances. It was unusual for a commander of her rank to participate in direct combat, but Thera had not earned her position by following conventional wisdom. The humans had already destroyed 3 of her siege platforms this cycle alone. Her superiors were demanding results. The descent to Earth's surface was turbulent, but Thera's transport cut through the atmosphere like a blade. She had chosen a small strike team, 5 of her most elite warriors, each selected for their ability to adapt to Earth's higher gravity. They landed 2 kilometers from the human fortress, a sprawling complex of reinforced concrete and advanced energy barriers that had somehow withstood months of orbital bombardment. "Move out," Thera commanded, activating her battle armor. The crystalline plates shifted and locked into place, conforming to her body's natural contours. Her warriors followed suit, their own armor synchronizing with their nervous systems. They encountered the first human patrol within minutes. Thera's warriors moved to eliminate them, but she held up her hand. Something was off. The humans were too exposed, too obvious. "It's a trap," she announced, just as the ground beneath them erupted. The explosion sent her warriors flying, but Thera's enhanced reflexes allowed her to leap clear. Through the smoke and debris, she caught sight of a single human figure darting between the trees. Without hesitation, she gave chase. The human was fast, remarkably so. He moved through the forest with practiced ease, leading her away from her scattered team. Thera's combat systems tracked his heat signature, but he seemed to anticipate her targeting protocols, moving erratically to prevent a clean shot. Finally, she cornered him at the edge of a cliff. The human turned to face her, and Thera found herself staring into eyes that showed no fear, only determination. "Nathan Reed," he said, raising his hand slowly. "And you must be the famous Commander Thera. Your reputation precedes you." Thera's weapon remained trained on his chest. "You knew I would come personally." "We counted on it." Nathan's lips curved into a slight smile. "Your pride makes you predictable." Before Thera could respond, the cliff edge behind Nathan shimmered, revealing the hidden entrance to the fortress. She had been so focused on her target that she'd missed the obvious. He had led her exactly where they wanted her. "You could kill me," Nathan continued, "but then you'd never learn how we've managed to hold out so long against your Empire's superior technology." Thera's finger tightened on her weapon's trigger. In all her years of combat, no opponent had ever dared to speak to her with such boldness. "You would betray your own people." "I'm offering you a chance to understand us," Nathan replied. "Your Empire thinks humans are primitive, that we should be conquered or eliminated, but you've never tried to know us, to understand what makes us fight so hard for our home." Something in his words stirred a long-buried curiosity in Thera. Since childhood, she had been taught that the Empire's expansion was inevitable, necessary for the greater good of the galaxy. The humans were simply another obstacle to be overcome. Yet here stood one of them, offering not surrender, but understanding. "This is a trap," she stated, but uncertainty had crept into her voice. "Of course it is," Nathan agreed, "but not the kind you're thinking of. I'm trying to trap you with something far more dangerous than weapons. The truth. Thera's auxiliary hearts beat faster as she considered her options. Empire protocol was clear. Eliminate the threat. Call for reinforcements. Continue the siege. But for the first time in her military career, she hesitated. Show me, she found herself saying, lowering her weapon slightly. Show me what makes humans so different. Nathan's smile widened, genuine this time. Follow me, Commander. Let me show you why Earth is worth saving. As Thera followed him into the hidden entrance, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was crossing a threshold from which there would be no return. She had come to this planet to conquer it. Instead, she was about to discover that the greatest battle she would face would be within herself. Breaking protocol. The inside of the human fortress was nothing like Thera had expected. Instead of a military installation, she found herself walking through what appeared to be a self-sustaining community. Hydroponic gardens lined the walls, their plants thriving under artificial sunlight. Children played in designated areas while adults went about their daily tasks, all under the protection of the energy shields that had frustrated her fleet for so long. This isn't a military base, Thera observed, her secondary eyes scanning every detail. It's a sanctuary. We call it Haven, Nathan explained, leading her through the corridors, one of several scattered across the globe. Not everyone here is a soldier. We have scientists, teachers, farmers, engineers, families seeking refuge from the Empire's advance. A small child ran past them, stopping briefly to stare at Thera with wide-eyed curiosity before being quickly ushered away by an adult. The commander felt an unfamiliar sensation in her chest. Was it guilt? She pushed the feeling aside. Your defensive capabilities are remarkable, she said, changing the subject. Our analysis suggested human technology was centuries behind the Empire's. Nathan led her into a laboratory where several humans were working on what appeared to be modified Nexian technology. We're good at adapting, taking pieces of your advanced tech and finding new ways to use it. Humans have always excelled at making the most of limited resources. Before Thera could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. A voice echoed through the communication systems. Imperial forces detected. Multiple dropships incoming. Nathan's expression hardened. Your team must have called for backup. They were following standard protocol, Thera replied, reaching for her weapon instinctively. But Nathan was faster, drawing his own weapon and training it on her. Now we'll see where your loyalties lie, Commander, he said, his voice tight with tension. Because in about 5 minutes, this place will be swarming with your troops. And these people, these families, will be slaughtered. Thera's training screamed at her to subdue him, to take control of the situation. But the image of the child who had run past her moments ago flashed through her mind. There is another option, she found herself saying. I'm listening. My command codes can redirect the assault teams, but you'll have to trust me. She met his gaze steadily. And I'll have to trust you. For a long moment, Nathan studied her face. Then, slowly, he lowered his weapon. Do it. Thera activated her neural link to the Empire's battle network. With a series of quick commands, she redirected the incoming forces to a false location several kilometers away. It was a direct violation of Imperial protocol, an act of treason that could cost her everything. It's done, she announced. But we need to move. When they realize they've been deceived, they'll track my signal here. Follow me, Nathan said, leading her through a series of maintenance tunnels. They emerged in an underground hangar where a sleek vehicle waited, a hybrid of human and Nexian technology. Get in, he ordered, jumping into the pilot's seat. Thera hesitated only briefly before climbing in beside him. The vehicle hummed to life, its engines nearly silent. As they sped through a hidden tunnel network, Thera's mind raced. She had just betrayed everything she had ever known, ever believed in. And for what? To protect a group of humans she had been sent to conquer. Why did you do it? Nathan asked, as if reading her thoughts. You could have let your forces attack. it would have been an easy victory. Thera watched the tunnel walls blur past them. "Your people surprised me," she admitted. "In all my years of conquest, I've never encountered a species that fought not for glory or power, but for each other. You protect your weak instead of culling them. You value life over victory. Is that so foreign to your people? The Empire believes in strength above all else. Weakness is eliminated. Emotion is seen as a flaw." She touched the bioluminescent markings on her neck, now pulsing with a mix of colors she had never experienced before. "But seeing your sanctuary, seeing how your people live and fight together, it made me question everything." The tunnel opened into a vast underground cavern where another hidden community thrived. Nathan brought their vehicle to a stop and turned to face her. "Welcome to your new reality, Commander," he said softly. "You're now officially a traitor to your empire, and possibly our only hope for survival." Thera knew he was right. There would be no going back now. Her act of mercy had sealed her fate. But as she watched more humans going about their lives in this hidden sanctuary, she felt something she had never experienced before. A sense of purpose beyond conquest. "They'll send others," she warned. "The Empire doesn't forget betrayal." "Then we'll face them together," Nathan replied. "But first, you need to understand exactly what you're fighting for now. Let me show you what humanity really is." As they stepped out of the vehicle, Thera realized that her life as a commander of the Nexian Empire had ended. What she would become now, among these resilient and passionate humans, remained to be seen. But for the first time in her existence, she felt truly alive. Divided loyalties. The next few days passed in a blur as Thera immersed herself in human culture. The underground sanctuary, which the residents called Deep Haven, was a maze of interconnected caverns transformed into a thriving community. Each day brought new revelations that challenged everything she had been taught about humans. "You're telling me these movies are purely for entertainment?" she asked Nathan as they sat in what humans call a common area. "They serve no tactical or educational purpose." Nathan laughed, a sound Thera found herself increasingly drawn to. "Not everything needs a purpose, Thera. Sometimes we create simply for the joy of creating." A sudden commotion interrupted their conversation. A group of refugees had arrived, bearing news that chilled Thera's blood. Her replacement, Commander Vex, had taken command of the orbital fleet and was implementing a new strategy: systematic destruction of all human population centers, regardless of military value. "He's going to burn everything," Thera whispered, her markings pulsing with distress. "The Empire has never. We have protocols." "Your Empire's protocols didn't stop them from trying to conquer us in the first place," Nathan reminded her gently. "But you're not them anymore, are you?" Before she could respond, her neural implant buzzed, a secure channel she hadn't expected to still be active. The message was from her former second-in-command, Crix. "Commander, we need to talk. Alone. Sending coordinates." Thera stared at the coordinates, torn between suspicion and hope. Crix had been her most trusted officer, someone who had served with her through countless campaigns. "If there was any chance." "It's a trap," Nathan said flatly when she told him. "You know that." "Probably," she agreed. "But Crix knows things. Weaknesses in the Empire's defense systems, command codes, tactical plans. If there's even a chance he's willing to help, then I'm coming with you." "No," Thera said firmly. "If it is a trap, I need you here. These people trust you. Lead them." Their eyes met, and Thera felt that now familiar flutter in her auxiliary hearts. The way Nathan looked at her, not as an alien commander, not as a traitor, but as someone worthy of concern, still startled her. 20 minutes, he finally said. "If you're not back, I'm coming after you." The meeting point was a collapsed human structure on the surface, half buried in debris. Thera approached cautiously, her combat systems fully active. Crix emerged from the shadows, his own markings glowing with nervous energy. "Commander," he said, using their native tongue, "you look different." The humans have that effect, she replied warily. Why did you contact me, Crix? Because what Commander Vex is planning. It's wrong. Even by Empire standards. He moved closer, his voice dropping. He's not just planning to destroy military targets. He's going to use the Planet Killer. Thera felt her scales bristle. The Planet Killer was a weapon of last resort, capable of rendering entire worlds uninhabitable. Its use had been outlawed by the Empire's own High Council centuries ago. Why are you telling me this? Because you were right, Crix admitted. About the humans, they're not what we were told. I've been watching them, studying them. They're extraordinary. The way they adapt, the way they care for each other. They deserve better than extinction. Hope flared in Thera's chest, but she remained cautious. What are you proposing? I can get you the command codes for the Planet Killer. And he hesitated. There are others in the fleet who feel as I do. Not many, but enough to cause confusion when the time comes. Before Thera could respond, her enhanced hearing picked up the faint whine of Imperial dropships. Her combat systems flashed warnings. They were surrounded. I'm sorry, Commander, Crix said, genuine regret in his voice. They gave me no choice. Commander Vex has my clutchmates. Imperial troops materialized from stealth fields, weapons trained on Thera. And there was Commander Vex himself, his massive frame dwarfing the others, his scales darkened with battle modifications. The great Commander Thera, he sneered, betraying everything we stand for. And for what? These primitive creatures. They're not primitive, Thera snarled. They're everything we could be if we weren't so blinded by our own arrogance. Take her, Vex ordered. But before his troops could move, the ground erupted with weapons fire. Nathan emerged from a hidden position, leading a strike team that had followed Thera despite her orders. The battle that followed was chaos. Thera fought alongside the humans, her combat systems synchronized with their tactics in ways she had never thought possible. She saw Nathan moving through the Imperial troops like a shadow, his movements fluid and unpredictable. In the confusion, Crix made his choice. He turned his weapons on his own forces, providing Thera and the humans with the opening they needed to escape. His last act was to transfer a data packet to Thera's neural link, the command codes he had promised. As they retreated through the underground tunnels, Thera realized that her path was now clearer than ever. She had seen the best and worst of both sides, and she knew where she belonged. I'm sorry I didn't trust you completely, Nathan said as they ran. You were right not to, she replied. But now we have what we need to stop Vex. The question is, are your people ready for what comes next? Nathan's grim smile told her everything she needed to know. The real war was about to begin. The choice. Deep within the Haven's war room, Thera studied the holographic display showing Vex's fleet positions. The command codes from Crix had confirmed her worst fears. The Planet Killer was being moved into position. They had less than 12 hours before Earth would face extinction. These codes give us access to their command network, she explained to the assembled human leaders. But Vex isn't stupid. He'll change the protocols the moment he detects any intrusion. Then we need a distraction, Nathan said, leaning over the display. Something big enough to keep his attention away from the network. Thera's markings pulsed with sudden inspiration. The human fleet graveyard in Sector 9. All those ships we disabled in the early days of the invasion. They're still in orbit. Most of them are damaged beyond repair, one of the human generals pointed out. But their cores are intact, Thera countered. If we could trigger a simultaneous core detonation, the electromagnetic pulse would temporarily disable the Imperial fleet's defensive systems. Nathan caught on immediately, giving us a window to upload a virus through the command codes. But someone would need to get onto those ships to set the charges. I'll go, Thera said quietly. I know Imperial security protocols. I can move through their detection grid. It's suicide, Nathan protested, his voice tight with emotion. Even if you succeed in planting the charges, you'll never get clear of the blast radius in time. The room fell silent as everyone felt the weight of the moment. Thera looked at Nathan, seeing the conflict in his eyes. In the weeks since her defection, their connection had grown into something neither of them had expected, something that transcended species and duty. "Get your teams ready," she told the others. "When the EMP hits, you'll have exactly 3 minutes to upload the virus before their systems recover." As the leaders dispersed to prepare their forces, Nathan pulled Thera aside. "There has to be another way." "There isn't," she said softly. "And you know it. This is my chance to make things right, to atone for all the worlds I helped conquer, all the lives I took in the Empire's name." "You've already proved yourself," Nathan argued. "These people trust you now. They follow you." Thera touched his face gently, her scaled fingers tracing the contours of his very human features. "That's why I have to do this. Because they trust me. Because you trust me." The next few hours were a blur of preparation. Thera modified her battle armor for space operations, while Nathan coordinated with the resistance cells worldwide. They worked in comfortable silence, both aware that these might be their last moments together. As Thera prepared to board her stealth shuttle, Nathan caught her arm. "I never told you," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "But you changed everything. Not just the war. You changed how we see your people. You gave us hope that peace is possible." Thera's markings glowed with colors she had once thought impossible for her species, warm, soft hues that reflected emotions the Empire had tried to breed out of them. "You changed me too," she admitted. "You showed me that strength isn't about conquest. It's about what you're willing to sacrifice for others." Their farewell was interrupted by proximity alarms. Vex's fleet was moving the planet killer into its final position. It was time. The journey to the ship graveyard was tense. Thera navigated through debris fields and Imperial patrol routes, her every move calculated to avoid detection. Each disabled human vessel she boarded was a tomb of sorts, silent monuments to the war's early days. As she planted the final charge, her neural link crackled with an incoming transmission. It was Vex. "I know what you're planning," his voice filled her mind. "Did you think we wouldn't detect the energy signatures? Your human friends are about to launch their attack, and they'll fail. But I'm giving you one last chance, Thera. Return to us. Help us cleanse this infection from the galaxy." Thera thought of Nathan, of the families in Haven, of all she had learned about humanity's capacity for love, creativity, and resilience. Her response was simple. "You never understood, Vex. They're not the infection. We are." She activated the charges, knowing the blast would come before she could reach minimum safe distance. As her ship turned to make a futile attempt at escape, she broadcast one final message to Haven. "Nathan, remember what you taught me. Some things are worth dying for. Now show them what humanity can really do." The graveyard erupted in a cascade of explosions, and Thera closed her eyes as the shockwave approached. She had made her choice, and for the first time in her life, she was at peace with it. New dawn. The electromagnetic pulse from the ship graveyard rippled through space, temporarily crippling both Imperial and human vessels alike. In Haven's command center, Nathan watched as their systems flickered and rebooted. Thera's sacrifice had given them their window. Now they had to make it count. "Upload the virus now," he ordered, pushing aside his personal grief. Teams of human hackers, armed with the Imperial command codes, launched their cyber assault on Vex's compromised fleet. The virus, designed using Thera's intimate knowledge of Imperial systems, spread through the command network like wildfire. One by one, Imperial ships began losing control of their weapon systems. The planet killer, moments away from achieving firing position, went dark. But Vex wasn't finished. His flagship, operating on an isolated system, remained operational. "You think this changes anything?" His voice boomed through all frequencies. "I'll destroy this world with conventional weapons if I have to, even if it takes years." A new signal cut through his transmission, weak but unmistakable. "Not if I can help it." Nathan's heart stopped. That voice. "Thera," he whispered. "The blast. Threw my ship clear." Her voice came through, strained but alive. "And I picked up something interesting in the graveyard." "Nathan, look up." Above the planet, a massive shape emerged from the debris field. A human dreadnought, one of the first ships disabled in the war, now partially restored. Thera had somehow managed to restart its engines. "Imperial ships are built to withstand external attacks," she explained, each word seemingly an effort. "But they're vulnerable to ramming attacks. Their shields can't compensate for the mass." Nathan understood immediately. "All units, concentrate fire on Vex's flagship. Give her a clear path." The dreadnought moved with agonizing slowness, its damaged engines pushing it toward Vex's ship. Imperial vessels, still crippled by the virus, could only watch as Thera guided the massive human vessel on its collision course. "You would die for these primitives." Vex's voice held genuine bewilderment. "No," Thera responded, stronger now. "I would die for what they've taught me. For love, for hope, for a future worth fighting for." The impact was spectacular. The dreadnought's mass, combined with its momentum, overwhelmed the flagship's shields. Both vessels erupted in a blinding explosion that lit up Earth's sky like a second sun. In the chaos that followed, something extraordinary happened. Imperial ships, led by surviving officers who shared Crix's doubts, began standing down. The virus had given them access to the truth, images and data about human civilization that the Empire had suppressed. Hours later, as the dust settled, rescue ships found a miracle. An escape pod, badly damaged but intact, drifting among the debris. Inside, barely alive but still fighting, was Thera. 3 months later, she stood with Nathan on a hillside overlooking the reconstruction of one of Earth's cities. Her wounds had healed, though some of her bioluminescent markings would never glow quite the same way again. "The peace talks are progressing," she said, watching human and Imperial medical ships landing at a joint aid station below. "More of my people are beginning to understand what I learned here. That strength isn't about domination. It's about cooperation. About building something together." Nathan took her hand, their different physiologies fitting together in their own unique way. "And what about you? The Empire is offering amnesty to defectors. You could go home." Thera's remaining markings pulsed with those warm colors that only Nathan seemed to inspire. "I am home," she said simply. "My people have much to learn from humans. About love, about family, about what really matters in this vast universe." Below them, a group of children, human and Imperial younglings alike, played in a makeshift park. Their laughter carried on the wind, a sound that would have once seemed impossible. "We'll face more challenges," Nathan acknowledged. "There will always be those who fear what's different. Then we'll face them together," Thera replied. "After all, isn't that what humans do best? Face the impossible and find a way forward." As the sun set over the recovering Earth, Thera reflected on her journey. She had come to this planet as a conqueror, certain of her purpose and place in the universe. She was leaving her old life behind as something else entirely, a bridge between two species, a warrior who had found strength in peace, and most surprisingly, someone who had found love in the most unexpected place. The war that had brought them together was over, but their story was just beginning. In the end, it wasn't about winning or losing, about Empire or Earth. It was about two beings from different worlds who found in each other something worth fighting for, and in doing so, changed the destiny of both their peoples. As darkness fell, the stars emerged, not as distant conquests to be claimed, but as lights illuminating a shared future. Thera and Nathan remained on their hillside, watching their two worlds begin the long process of healing, understanding, and growth together.